Abby Snyder. Dr. Hardman asked me to speak at a chapel to tell everyone a little bit about my experiences, what I've learned, and what lessons I can leave you with. Your testimony becomes a story that you tell others, so they can see Christ in you and hopefully learn from you. This is my story. Many of you have lived bits and pieces of my story, but not the whole thing. Here's a quick overview of everything. About 1 year ago, on March 1st, 2014, my whole life changed overnight. I was just like all of you. I participated in soccer, cheerleading, and basketball, studied hard, did fun things with friends, and went to church on Sundays. My life was centered around this, and I thought that this was what life was all about, but it's not. I was at school on Friday, and by Monday, when everyone else was at school, I was in the hospital starting chemo treatments. I had been diagnosed with high-risk T-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia over the weekend. This is a cancer of the white blood cells and of the bone marrow. Leukemia causes immediate death if treatment is not started right away. Leukemia cells were also found in my spine and in my brain. I had a mass in my chest as well. There is no tumor that can be removed with leukemia. Instead, cancer cells were floating throughout my blood system, crowding out my healthy cells. When I was first diagnosed, I felt very alone, and I thought I was going to die. I was very sick for several months. I couldn't walk, I dropped down to 80 pounds, and even became very sick to the point of being in the PICU, which is the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, and I was near death. I've had a lot of reactions to the chemo. I went into anaphylactic shock with one chemo. This is an allergic reaction, where my throat started to close up and I couldn't breathe. I had another chemo caused kidney failure until they flew in a special enzyme to help break it up before it caused any more harm. A third chemo has caused acute pancreatitis, which put me in the PICU with stage 4 shock. My blood pressure dropped to 30/10. At stage 5, your body shuts down completely. I experienced seizures and neurotoxicity. This is when your brain is not functioning properly, and I functioned at a very low mental state of a very young child. I have had reoccurring pancreatitis caused from the chemo 4 times total now. I've had a lot of ups and downs this past year. Just as soon as my hair would start to grow back, it would fall out again. I would start to gain weight and get stronger, then I'd end up right back in the hospital, getting weak and losing weight. I caught 3 viruses in January, which put me in the hospital for a week and bedridden for the rest of the month. I was sleeping 21 out of 24 hours of the day. As soon as I got over the viruses, I was back in the hospital for 3 more weeks with pancreatitis for most of February. I've received chemo every week and sometimes 2 or 3 times a week since March of last year. I've also received radiation to my brain for 2 weeks straight. It truly has been a really tough year. I'm not even sure if tough is the right word to use. My whole life has changed and it will never be the same. I missed the last 3 months of my freshman year, and I missed all but 2 months of my sophomore year. I missed out on every social event, every sport I used to play, and my whole high school experience so far. No other teenager quite understands anywhere what I've been going through, except those who have also had cancer. It's hard on my parents, my siblings, and my whole family in general. My treatment is not over. I will continue to be in cancer treatments for another 16 months. I will finally be finished with chemo at the start of my senior year. There are many things that I can say I have learned along the way. Children get 25 unique different types of cancers that adults don't get, such as osteosarcoma, Ewing sarcoma, Wilms tumor, and neuroblastoma. The interesting thing is that childhood cancer does not discriminate. Children of all ethnic groups, it doesn't matter if you are are Hispanic, African American, Asian, or Caucasian, the children still get cancer. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, they still get cancer. And it doesn't matter where you live, the kids still get cancer. There is still no known cause of pediatric cancer. I did not know any kids with cancer before I was diagnosed. I thought that the cute little bald kids that you see on TV were far away in different states, but they're not. Pediatric cancer is really not that rare. I can name at least 30 kids right here in Virginia, who are either battling cancer or have passed away from cancer. And I can name at least 10 right here in Winchester. I always knew that kids could get cancer, but I always thought it happened to kids far away in other states. No one right here, and I certainly never thought they would happen to me. Cancer is the leading cause of death by disease in children. Here are a couple of facts. 46 children are diagnosed with cancer every day in America, and 7 will die each day from this disease. That's a school bus load of kids getting diagnosed every day. More than 40,000 children and teenagers undergo cancer treatments each year. And 20% of all the children and teenagers will die for their disease, a secondary cancer, or complications of from treatment. The reason I tell you these facts are for you to hear the suffering. You see, I've seen the suffering. I've spent more than 120 days in the hospital, and I can definitely say that I've seen a lot of suffering. And it's not just cancer. It's kids suffering from hemophilia, cystic fibrosis, heart defects, burns all over their body, or accidents causing the loss of their legs or arms. Kids who have lost their mom or dad way too early. Their families are suffering. And I've also seen the kids who have wanted to end their own lives, and they succeeded. This is devastating to watch a family grieve as they find out their 13-year-old decided to end her own life. I watched that. And this is only one hospital in only one small area of the world. Suffering is happening all around us, but what can we do about it? Can we make a difference in our lives? Can we make a difference to the people who we come in contact with? I want to tell you a little bit about my friend, Reagan. I met Reagan last year at cancer camp, but she was the first friend that I met there. When I met her, I was extremely scared and nervous about camp. She told me that it was a life-changing experience and that it was so fun, and it definitely was. She was such a beautiful girl. She had a kind heart, a gorgeous smile, and an awesome personality. When she smiled, it just lit up the room. And the joy and laughter she brought to me is just unforgettable. Even though she was fighting her own battle of cancer, she still made sure to try to do something about childhood cancer. She was the head of the Relay for Life at her high school in Culpeper. She was a young girl who loved the Lord and told people about Christ whenever she could. Reagan battled cancer for 7 years. But about 2 months ago, she lost her battle to cancer. About 2 months ago, on March 27th, 2015, she lost her battle with cancer. She was the first friend and cancer friend that I have ever lost. The day of her viewing was one of the hardest days ever. I had to see Reagan laying there in a coffin. No child or teenager should have to ever experience that. No teenager should have to look down at their friend in a coffin. But the thing is that this happens every day because it's reality. People can pretend that this doesn't happen, but it does. As a walked up to Reagan's coffin, and as I looked up and saw her laying there, I just broke down into tears. As I stood there bawling my eyes out and looking down at her, I really realized how precious life really is and how I need to do something about this. How I need to raise more awareness for childhood cancer and how I need to help find a cure. That day, I promised not only myself, but I promised to Reagan and that I will do something, and that I will do something for her and for all the other children and teenagers battling cancer. I promised that I will do something in my life. I will make a difference in my life, so that is what I will do. That day, when I was told I have cancer, I was brought into a whole other world. My eyes were opened up to a whole new world, in a very, very hard world of people suffering. People are suffering all around us, even right here in our own school. We may not know all the details, but they are suffering. Our judging comments and look could just be destroying them. James 1:2 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds." Some trials we may face will be something we've caused, such as going against what God wants us to do. That's called natural consequences. But other trials are things we have no control over. You see, this verse says when we face trials, not if we face trials. There will come a time in your life. It may not be now. It may be 10 or 20 or maybe even 30 years from now where you face a trial. But you will face something. And this trial will send you to your knees, where the only place you can look is up and cry out to God. You see, my faith has been shaken. I came to the point that I was sent to my knees. My mom shared with me a song that played in her head over and over again all night long on that first night I was diagnosed. It goes like this: "I need you, Lord, I need you. Every hour I need you." She sang it all night long because she knew she needed the Lord. You will one day be in that same place. I would like to leave the middle schoolers and high schoolers with several challenges today. These are lessons that I have learned so far by having cancer. Number 1, decide today to make a difference. You don't have to go to the Dominican Republic or some other country to make a difference. You can make a difference right here and right now. Number 2, be careful what you say and do to others. Before I was diagnosed with cancer, I felt like I was very judgmental towards others. Remember that our judging comments and thoughts can be extremely hurtful. People are suffering all around you, and you may not even know it or why. Who cares if someone isn't wearing the coolest looking clothes, or have the best hairstyles, or greatest looking shoes? In the scheme of life, none of it really matters, because life is just way too short. And number 2, be prepared. Be prepared for a trial. I know that sounds odd, but there will come a time in your life where you face a trial. God promises that we will face them. And he promises not to leave us. He will help us the entire way, every step of the way. I would like to leave you with the lyrics of a song that has become a favorite of mine during my treatment of cancer. It pretty much sums up what God has done for me this past year. It is called Oceans by Hillsong. You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where my feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep my faith will stand. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. My feet may fail, and where feet may fail, and fear surrounds me. For you've never failed, and you won't start now. So I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours and you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander. faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. My soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. I feel like I got cancer for a reason. I did not get cancer just to die or to survive and not do anything about it. I got cancer to make a difference in someone else's lives. Thank you.
Two times in there.